You're listening to Boobies and Newbies. Find and follow Boobies and Newbies at Boobies Podcast across platforms and on boobiesandnewbies.com. And don't forget at Real Kelly Ray on TikTok, because TikTok thinks I'm making porn if I use boobies in the handle. Thanks, TikTok! Welcome to Boobies and Newbies, the podcast that asks novice romance readers to think outside the dick in a box and brave the unbridled world of erotica. I'm your host, Kelly Reynolds, and happy February, everybody. We are bringing you the first episode in the 2024 Fantasy Fiction Draft, a quarterly series where we draft our top book picks for the season ahead, and you get to decide whose team you like the best. All in good fun, of course. There are no winners here, except for hopefully the 49ers in the Super Bowl this weekend. Sorry, not sorry to all the Taylor Swift fans. I am 49ers faithful through and through. Now, the holiday season might be over, but winter reading is alive and well, so I cannot wait to get into some winter book recommendations, all of which are releasing between January and March 2024. Now, before I introduce today's so-called team captains and go over the draft rules, let me take a brief moment to remind everybody about a few housekeeping details. First things first, you can always catch up on past episodes of the podcast on our website, boobiesandnewbies.com, or on your favorite podcast app. Be sure to follow Boobies and Newbies across social platforms at Boobies Podcast or at Real Kelly Ray on TikTok. If you're a fan of the podcast and you've got a few minutes to spare, I would greatly appreciate a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. And last but not least, if you want to be the first to know what we're reading next, have exclusive access to bonus clips, private chats, and so much more, you might consider heading on over to our Patreon page. As per usual, I will include links for all of the above in today's show notes, along with any links for today's guests. So let's meet the guests, shall we? First up, she is one of my favorite people on Book Talk, though you can also find her on the gram. You might know her at Sat Ray Reads. Please welcome Satoria Ray.
Hello, everyone.
So glad to have you here, Sat. And I don't know if enough people know this, but I'm all about sharing fun facts about my guests. You were featured on the Today Show last year to talk about Book Talk. That's wild.
Yeah, it was very wild. I didn't realize that Today's Show was like, a national show. And so there are people from my hometown like, you are on and I'm like, I was talking about tentacles on there. So maybe let's not talk about that in the middle of the grocery store aisle in my small town, but thank you.
I don't know. I think the more people who know about tentacles, the better. Like, that's just like my opinion.
I mean, I agree. That's why I said it. I just wasn't expecting my pastor to hear, I didn't realize what the Today Show was, I don't think.
That's a tricky one. Well, I'm wondering if just briefly you could talk a little bit about how Book Talk has sort of influenced the way that you personally read and talk about books.
Yeah, so I think since being on Book Talk, I'm way more critical of who is writing the books that I'm reading, what is the content of the books that I'm reading, and ensuring that the books that I read vary across identity, which usually I would just walk into a store and whatever was the, on the display, I'd be like, that's what I'm going to go home and read. And that was fine, but I was primarily reading white books. And now I'm reading all sorts of different, queer books and Black and Latinx and just such a wide range. And I definitely think that's from being on Book Talk.
Yeah, it's made you more of like an intentional reader.
Yeah, and it's given me a place to find like the books that I was most looking for that when you walk into a
Mm,
bookstore, right? It's usually not curated to your particular taste, it's curated to the market taste. So being on Book
right.
Talk has allowed me to be like, I am in the mood to read tentacle smut, and I can just type in tentacle smut, and like all of those options come up for me, which has been really helpful. Or I'm in the mood to read like a romance that is exploring like social ills, those will come up and things like that. So it's been really helpful.
I just want to be clear. Sat talks a lot about, she talks about things other than tentacle smut, like on
Yes.
her platform, just so just so people know.
We're actually
Not
rebranding. I'm only talking about tentacle smut. No, I'm just
just
saying.
tentacles.
That's what I tell
Tentacles in
people.
2024.
Yeah, that's what I tell people. And then I start talking about white supremacy. And they're like, whoa, that's not what I signed up for, but you're not wrong. So it's a great way to lure the people in.
There you go. I love it. Bring them in with tentacles and then hit them hard with racial justice.
Exactly. That's my new motto, actually. I love that.
Perfect. We'll talk about the branding and everything. Next up is one of my favorite podcasters. She is a former Boobies and Newbies guest. It's Tori. Tori hosts Ready to Be Petty, a podcast about the ins and outs of pop culture, celebrity scandals, and reality TV. And now she's entered her romance era because she has launched her second podcast called Ready to Be Romanced. Welcome back, Tori.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
I am excited, of course, to have you here, but also excited for you because, one, you have continued your romance reading journey well beyond your guest time on Boobies and Newbies, and so much so that it has led to the point of you starting your own romance related podcast. Like it's romance inception. Like I love it.
I know, and I say this and you always brush it off, but it's truly because I was a newbie on Boobies and Newbies, and I had been a reader throughout my, childhood and teen years, and then had a steep fall off when I went to university, and then was struggling to find a genre that I connected to and was interested in. And then I went on this little show called Boobies and Newbies, and the rest is history.
And it's so funny because I'm trying to think back to the first book we read together, and I want to say it was actually around the beginning of the new year. It was a winter romance.
It was.
It was like a hookup at a lodge in
Yeah.
the snow. I remember us talking about hot tubbing in our romance reads. So it's kind of perfect that you're back here at this time of year too.
Totally. I know. It truly was. And it's funny. I liked that book, but it captured me. But now I've been able to explore so much more than just beyond that book, like tentacle smut and stuff like that. So I don't know. Happy to be here. Happy that my tastes have expanded a little bit. And yeah, that's so funny.
That's 2 for tentacle smut.
It was called,
All right.
sorry. Yeah, literally. It was called Something New by Ivy Woods was the book.
Yeah. And you're right. It was cute. It definitely was not like our favorite, but I remember enjoying a lot about that. And I remember a good conversation we had. And what's the plan? What's the forecast for Ready to Be Romanced? Are you going to be doing romance reviews? Are you going to be talking about trends in romance? What's the plan?
Yeah, it is kind of, I know I'm a little bit late to the game, but it is a like recap and discussion based podcast where we go through the major plot points and discuss, if we like them, what we thought of them, how it moves the story along. And then we do like a roundtable discussion about some of our internet investigation around the book, the reception the book got. If it has a TV or movie adaptation, we'll talk about that. And just getting into the juicy smut.
Yes, of course. The tentacles.
Yeah, exactly.
The metaphorical, not always actual tentacles, but yeah, I'm with you. Well, that sounds like so much fun. I can't wait to listen and, hopefully invite myself on your show.
Come back on the show. Yeah.
Perfect. Love it. Well, last but certainly not least, let's give a big welcome to Bookstagrammer and indie author supporter, Lena, aka Desert Diva Reads. And Lena has been a big supporter of me and my books, but she has also done the same for so many other indie authors, which is why we love her so much. So Lena, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. It's my first podcast. So hello, everybody. I'm excited.
Yay! Oh my gosh, I didn't know that. I'm honored to have you here and celebrate romance with you. So
Absolutely.
now you do so many fun things on your platform, but I love the event that you do come December, which is the 12 Days of Christmas novellas.
Yep.
Mostly because you featured my Christmas novellas. I'm a little biased, I know, but you even in your bio call yourself a novella lover. So what is it that attracts you specifically to reading novellas?
I am a mom.
Period. That's it.
I just don't have, I am a full-time working mom and I commute to work. And then when I get home, it's dinner time and it's bedtime and I wake up at 5 a.m. And so some books just drag. And when they get to like over 300 pages, like I start getting anxiety, like that's a long book, and so short and sweet, just, it hits the spot. And especially on the weekends when I can wake up and sit in bed before the kids wake up, it's like I can get to past 50% in a story and feel accomplished, and so, yeah, they definitely don't get enough love. And I just think, if you can get past the insta love, and they're not all insta love. And I think that's the misconception, is that they're all insta love and they all, fall in love in 2 days. And, that's not the case. And, some epilogues do them such justice, and it's just, they're quick and they're easy, and I can be done in, like I said, I could be done in a morning or I can be done in 2 days and then move on, to the other one, where other books, it's usually taking me 2, 3, 4 weeks, to finish a book. So.
Right. No, and I think that makes a lot of sense, and I think a lot of people would agree with you for those very reasons. I know I'm a little biased in this, but I actually think from the writing standpoint, I think writing a novella is very hard. Like I think, I don't want to say it's harder than writing a novel, but I do think there is something to be said for being able to like say what you want to say in a finite amount of pages. And there are some people where that's all they write, and I think it's incredible. I think if that's what you can do, and be able to tell like a complete story in 100 pages, 120 pages, all the power to you. And I will continue reading them.
No, absolutely. It's like I said, yeah, there, and you did them well. I mean, you have to have that back. Oh, you do. You have to have that backstory. I think the backstory is what matters. The strangers to lovers can be done well, but like you did, usually it's when it's friends to lovers or something, that it's not that insta love, and they already have a connection. They already have a relationship, and then the love comes and, the story builds. And so, yeah.
Yeah. Great. Good. Well, more novellas in 2024 with tentacles. I feel like I just have to keep adding tentacles to like keep us on brand throughout.
I will be. I am not a tentacle fan.
Okay.
I'll leave that to the other two.
That's okay. Everybody to each their own.
Absolutely. I don't know if I have read a mermaid romance, a very good one. I loved it. But yes, I have not gone into my monster smut era yet, or alien smut.
Scales and tails over tentacles. Yes. That's cool. There's a little bit for everybody. This is the wonderful thing that we love about romance. Well,
absolutely.
Okay, now that we've met everybody, it's time to get down to business. So I'm a football fan through and through. I'm the daughter of a former football coach. So football has always been part of my life, even long before I became a romance reader. So Super Bowl's coming up, my team is in it, and I thought, what better way to resurrect the fantasy fiction draft? We started it in 2023. It kind of fell off the radar, meaning I stopped doing it. But we are here to bring it back just in time for the Super Bowl. And if people listening are not familiar with the setup of a fantasy football draft, or in this case, a fantasy fiction draft, it's actually pretty easy. We are all going to take turns selecting books as opposed to football players for our quote unquote teams. And rather than just pick them willy-nilly, I have arranged for a few different categories of romances, starting with an indie published romance, a traditionally published romance, an LGBTQ plus romance, which could be indie or traditionally published, a romance by a new to you author, again, could be indie or traditionally published romance, and a freebie, which is really just any other book within the romance genre that you want to recommend. And we will be taking turns selecting books, all of which are releasing between January 1st and March 31st of this year to add to our teams, so to speak. Now, the only thing is that nobody can select the same book as somebody else. So if, the person ahead of you chooses the book that you were dying to add to your team, oh, well, time to think of another one. So,
I'm worried about that. We'll see how it goes.
I know. It's so hard. Like anytime I've done some kind of draft, I feel like what's great about, because there are so many romance books out there and because there's so many different genres and subgenres and tropes, this is in the past worked out pretty well, where there was maybe only one or two book titles that we had some crossover on. I don't know if that'll be the case this time around. Fingers crossed that everybody gets what they want on their team, but we will see. So to keep things fair, we will take turns with who goes first. So it's a rotating order, and everyone will have the chance to go first, second, third, fourth, etc. So first round, we are going to be selecting our indie published romances. And I have already randomly selected the order. We are going to be starting with Tori. So Tori, you get the first pick in the 2024 fantasy fiction draft.
Oh my gosh. The honor is is, I guess, all mine. A little overwhelming. Okay, no, let's do it. Let's dive in. I am choosing Face Off by Tegan Hunter. It is
okay.
The second book in her Seattle Serpents series, which is about a hockey team.
Yet still with the tentacles.
Oh my God.
No, it's a contemporary romance. No monsters live in this universe, but I really enjoy like Pacific Northwest stories, like Vancouver and Seattle, Portland, because I live on Vancouver Island, so kind of near Kelly, kind of also not. And I don't know, the Justin Bieber at the NHL like All-Stars game this past week just stirred something inside of me. Maybe it's the Canadian hockey, like love of hockey, even though like, I don't know. I really am interested in reading this book, and it came out January 18th.
Oh, great.
So
I love that it's kind of a little bit of everything that you love. It's got the pop culture references. You do that on your podcast. It's got the hockey, Pacific Northwest, checking all the boxes.
Truly.
And tentacles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. Awesome. Yes, hockey romance is alive and well in the world of romance. So Okay, well, great pick. Over to Lena. Hopefully you didn't get yours stolen already, so go ahead.
No, we are good. So my indie pick, it is called Girl Meets Grump by Haley. I don't know if it's Gardner or Gardnier. I'm so bad with pronunciations, but she is a new to me author just because I've never read her. I've been following her for a while and I have a couple of her books on my TBR, but this one releases at the end of February on the 28th. And it was, I don't know where the setting is, but it's like forestry. He like manages like some cabins in the forest and he's trying to finish a tree house and is like overwhelmed with all the guests and the property. And so he has to hire a manager. So in comes the girl. And I think it's a little bit, butting heads and, she starts managing the property and they fall in love. And it just really looks really cute, sounds cute, really cute cover. So that is my pick.
You had me at treehouse.
I know.
In my mind, I'm like, there better be some treehouse sex. Otherwise, I'm going to be pissed.
And like, I have, not that I have had sex in a treehouse, but I have hooked up with someone in a treehouse.
Wow. Bless. Now, was this recently or
no?
Okay.
No, it was not recent, but it was like a backyard party. And yeah,
treehouse gone wild. Okay, go you. Wow, I love it. I always love the things I learn about everybody when we do these episodes. Oh, so good. Fantastic. Well, I unfortunately got the final draw, which means Sat, you're up next, and I hope you don't take mine.
Okay, so mine is The 7-Month Itch by Tom V.A. Pert. It came out last month in January. It is a second chance romance between a couple that is currently going through a separation on their way to divorce. The woman, her name is Justice. Her best friend, unbeknownst to Justice at the time, whisked her away to a singles retreat, and her ex-husband beside that shows up at the retreat as well, and also her ex-husband's college girlfriend that he was with before he was Justice shows up as well. So it has the perfect winter vibes because it takes place in Colorado at this like singles retreat. So there's like the mountains and the snow, and it's super messy in the best way. And it's really, really funny. It's actually genuinely funny. Sometimes rom-coms, they're like, where's the calm part? Like,
yeah, too often, honestly.
Yeah, you're like, okay, that wasn't funny, but it was like romantic. But this one's like actually funny. And it has like an older sort of cast, like late 30s,
nice.
Early 40s, and it's a Black romance, and it's phenomenal. I can't recommend it enough.
Oh, that sounds so good. I also feel like there is like a tremendous lack of both, I should say, marriage in trouble romances and exes to lovers where they're actually like divorced. Like I feel like so often it's like, oh, we had a breakup 10 years ago when we were like in college. Like, but to like see ones with couples who are divorced or who are going through a divorce, I think adds like so much depth to the character's story.
Yeah, I agree. I love second chance romance. I know some people aren't the biggest fan, but I love it. I think if it's done right, I should say, I love it. It has to make sense.
That's me.
It can't be like super like this person did something so outrageous and now we're going to get back together, because then it's unbelievable to me. But when it's done right and there's like tension and they actually have to work to get back to each other. I love it. I really love it.
But still some comedy. That's great.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, well, I'm so glad that nobody stole mine. I chose The Wiener Across the Way by Amy Award.
I considered this one, Kelly.
So
I considered it.
First of all, title alone, or am I right? I mean, like, come on, like and the first book in this series was called The Cock Down the Block, which I just I give mad props to her for even putting cock in the title of her book. So the titles are great. The covers are great. They feature plus size heroines. The heroes are athletes who aren't like macho dicks, which I think is great. And so, yeah, the second one in this series, The Wiener Across the Way, is out now. And I'm really excited to read it because I enjoyed the cock down the block. So these are books that I will purchase the paperbacks of specifically because I think the cover art is so gorgeous. Like, and it's such a great like representation of plus size female bodies. So yeah, I'm excited for this one, but that's me.
I really almost picked that one. Like,
there you go.
Because the cover is gorgeous. Yeah. And yeah, I'm glad that you chose it.
It was meant to be. Everybody got their way. Now we are only one category in.
One round done.
There's still a few more to go. So now we're going to move on to traditionally published romance, and our order will just jump down one. So this time, Lena, you will start.
This one was hard for me because I'm not, I really had to dig, and I happen to be in my fantasy era. I just finished Fourth Wing and I'm reading Iron Flame. And so I came across, somebody happened to tag me in a giveaway on Instagram. And so I came across Holly Renee, never heard of her. And she has a fantasy romance called The Veiled Kingdom coming out, and she's got a Barnes and Noble exclusive cover. Oh my God, it's gorgeous. It's pink and the characters are on there. And so she is like a princess. Her father's the king and she's fleeing him because he's like evil. And the main male character is like the son of the rebellion leader. And she somehow gets involved with them. I don't know if she gets captured by them, but it's like they don't know who she is. So I don't want to say mistaken identity, but secret identity. So she's like flying under the radar, and there's, I guess, just everything, the secrets, and who she is and who he is, and they come together, and it sounds like it's going to be a series. And so yeah, I'm excited for it.
I love that. Yeah, I'm not a big it's so funny because when I said we were doing the fantasy fiction draft, I know a couple people were like, I don't read a ton of fantasy, and I was like, oh no, that's not it. It's I don't either. Like I know that's something that has captured the attention of so many romance readers, and I'm always excited to hear the fantasy books that are hitting for everybody, but it's not my go-to subgenre. So I'm excited for you though that you found that.
No, I used to, and so yeah, it's not with age comes selectivity, I guess to say. So I know what I do and don't like anymore. And not that I wouldn't have read Fourth Wing, but I don't read traditionally published because on my platform I like to feature the indie authors and the ones who only have 1,000 followers and such. And my sister-in-law wanted to read it, and she's one of just being family. We do buddy reads here and there. And because she wanted to read it, I was like, okay, I'll read it. And it's actually really good. Again, not to, I'm totally in the fantasy world now, and, I've done it in the past. And so, yeah, we're going to continue reading this series. And then just like I said, this one, the cover it's black and pink. I mean, that's
my two favorites.
Yes. Who doesn't love black and pink together? I mean, it just, and the cover art is amazing. And so I was like, oh yeah, that seems, so I pre-ordered it.
Awesome. Well then, now we're heading over to Sat, and I am hoping she doesn't pick mine because I've seen her cover the one that I want to pick on her platform already this year.
There's a few options here. Okay, also I should say the theme that I'm going with is Black authors because it is Black History Month. So I feel like there's only one Black author that I don't have on here. Nice. So this one is Sex, Lies, and Sensibility by Nikki Payne.
Damn it!
You know what? It's great that
it is what it is.
Everyone should have this book on a list. Like, it comes out February 13th. It's perfect for Valentine's Day. Nikki Payne, if you're not familiar, welcome. You should be. She does a lot of Jane Austen retellings. not retellings, I should say reimagining. I'm learning the difference between retelling and reimagining. So hers are definitely,
That's a good
hers are
point.
definitely reimaginings. I don't know how accurate they are because I've never read Jane Austen, so it's not that accurate. That's not why I was there. But why I was there was for the comedy, the romance, and Nikki Payne is one of the most funny people I've ever met, and it translates into her work. This particular book is a reimagining of Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. It follows Bear, who is Indigenous, and it follows oh my god, I'm blanking on her name right now, but she's Black, and she inherits this rundown, like this rundown inn essentially in Maine, and she has to, Nora, that's her name, Nora, inherits this rundown inn in Maine, and she and her sister Yan go up there to basically try to restore it, because if they are able to, they will get like $1 million, this huge inheritance. They meet Bear because the inn is on his nation's land, and it is just so good. It is so funny. The spice is doing what it needs to. The tension is building. I absolutely love it.
The way I added this to my TBR so quickly.
That's what I like to hear.
I'm very salty because that was my pick for traditionally published romance. I have my backups, don't worry, but I freaking loved her first book, Pride and Protest. Oh my god, that was one of my favorite reads last year. I think it came out in 2022, but I read it in 2023, and I adored that. I love her voice so much. And I will say I'm especially excited about this one because I think one of the micro tropes that I've realized I'm trash for is the we inherited a house or we inherited a den.
And it needs to be renovated, and
yes, it taps into like all my favorite like HGTV kind of things.
Oh, you'll love this one then. Yeah, you'll love it.
I know. I have the arc sitting on my Kindle right now, and I've been.
I just followed her on Instagram, and her covers are gorgeous.
Yeah,
stunning.
Yeah, the artwork is really nice.
Yeah.
And don't let I know we're like talking about this one like so much, but don't let the idea of it being Jane Austen inspired fool you into thinking that these books are not spicy, because they are. Like the first one was, for sure. It surprised me, and I was like, oh, I don't know why I thought this wasn't gonna be a spicy read, and it was.
No, it definitely is. Yeah, it is. And you don't have to have read Jane Austen to like appreciate, because she really is like just reimagining the stories. So
yeah,
they're great.
Love
okay,
that.
Well, now that I got things stolen from me, I am going to move into, funny enough, another one of my favorite Black authors, Kennedy Ryan's upcoming release, This Could Be Us, which is available March 5th. When I tell you that I am terrible at reading arcs, like, ahead of the release date, like, awful. Like, it's a wonder that people reach out to me to read their books, because
same.
I tell them I'm terrible at like reading them and giving feedback and posting reviews. Terrible. I will drop anything I am doing to read a Kennedy Ryan book. Like, and I did. I read this one a few months ago when I got the arc for it. And she also is one of the few people who has the power to make me cry when I read.
Yeah.
I don't usually get emotional that way when reading, but I do when I'm reading Kennedy Ryan's books.
Yeah, truly. Like, like all the King's Men series of hers are like so good. I've recommended that so many times. So the book that you are putting forward is the sequel to or to Before I Let Go, which has been on my TBR forever. So you just bumped it up to like
yes, perfect.
On the
you
list.
Can read
Okay,
it
cool.
And then dive right into
the second one
when it comes out in March.
Nice. Perfect.
Great. Love that. Okay. And then last but not least, Tori, it's up to you.
Yes. Okay. So Allie Hazelwood, I know she is a big, well-known author of like some really popular, especially book talk books. I've actually never read an Allie Hazelwood book,
Same.
even though my friend Melody is like keeps telling me to. So I think we're gonna cover one in March on Ready to Be Romance. But she has a new book coming out on the 6th of February. So we're days away, called Bride. And it is a vampire werewolf romance. And I do feel like I'm kind of in a paranormal romance era right now. And I'm just really excited for more fantasy, more vampires, and more royalty and like fun. I'm imagining balls and escapades and stuff like that. So
It's really good.
Now, I could
Is
be
it?
wrong.
I was waiting to be like, and it's so good, you should read it.
I knew I wasn't I was like, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I just saw Sat cover this one, and I read this one last month, and I also really enjoyed it.
I'm so excited now that I have both of your like approvals because again, it hasn't come out. I haven't really heard to like other than people being excited for it. I haven't actually talked to anyone that's read it. So I'm really excited.
And you know what I'll say about this one, and Sat, I'd love your POV on this as well, but I'm not the biggest fan of her rom-coms, but I really liked this. And I think that this is a book that if you haven't read Allie Hazelwood before, I think this would be fun to read because I think it's very different from what she has published before.
Yeah.
And I know that people love what she's published before, but there are some people who maybe that wasn't their jam. I think those people might like this one.
Yeah, I agree. Especially because I've only read The Love Hypothesis and it was okay. Like it was just, whatever. But this one, I'm like, Allie, I don't know what's coming up in the docket for you, but paranormal romance should be your lane. Yes, she's meant to write paranormal. It was so good. I definitely agree, Kelly. Like if you have given Allie Hazelwood a try and you were underwhelmed, I definitely think you could like really, really enjoy Bride because she really like stretched herself as an author and she did it really well. Yeah. And I was like, okay, Allie, like, wow. I was not expecting to like it as much as I did.
Same. And the only reason I kind of jumped into it was I was like, this just feels so far removed from like everything else she's written. Like I'm kind of curious.
Yeah.
Like,
totally.
And yeah, it was good for me. So
I'm excited.
Wonderful. Yay. Happy reading to all of us. Okay. I'm excited because, here I was thinking I was going to be first for this next one. And we're still not there yet. We're getting there though. Okay, Sat, you are kicking off our LGBTQ plus romance picks. So indie or trad pub, up to you.
Okay, so I chose Loving Sapphoa by Liza Waymaker. I think this is her debut. It is a Black lesbian vampire novella, Lena. So
this is hitting all of our boxes.
Every single box. And so I honestly was like, I don't need to know anymore after Black lesbian vampire. I don't know what's going on. I did look it up though to see like, actually I think people might want to know more besides Black lesbian vampire, but also why would you need to know anything more?
I don't think you need to.
No, but if you do, okay, it follows a teacher who gets a tattoo in Flatbush in 1991, and that starts this journey with an ancient African vampire. So it's actually crossing over like Ghana and New York, and then it gets like into this like utopian, dystopian sort of binary going on. I'm very excited to read it. I've had it on my TBR ever since I saw it posted. And I just, it comes out actually February 6th, which is Tuesday. So I'm very excited about it.
That sounds amazing. And like you said, I don't think you need to say more than just like the few keywords to and then add in novella and like sold.
I know.
There you go.
Seriously sold. It's so nice when you can, like Lena said, like read something just and enjoy it for what it is over like one night or 2 nights or whatever. Love that.
Same.
Oh God, that sounds great. I'm invested already.
What was
so
her
I'm
name
adding
again?
that.
So I can write it. What was her name?
Liza Weemaker, Wemakor.
And just so everyone listening knows, but this is, for the panelists as well. I will have links, titles,
everything.
authors for everybody that we're talking about in today's show notes, so people can click and add them to their list as well.
Perfect.
Fabulous. Okay. So mine is, oh God, there were so many to choose from too, because I follow several people on both Book Talk and Bookstagram who all they cover are queer romances. So I had a million to choose from and I was so excited. I went with My Fair Brady by Brian D. Kennedy, which is available now. And I think it's actually a young adult romance, which isn't typically what I go for. However, I feel like every once in a while, that is something I find entertaining. And I also think young adult is doing a great thing when it comes to queer romance. I think there's so much of it happening in the traditional young adult publishing space that is lacking in adult traditional romance. So I do think that's very cool. But this, I was, not only am I super into a punny title, right? But it is a young adult male romance, and it's all about theater kids. And the way that the author describes it is My Fair Lady meets the movie She's All That. And that was all I needed to know. That was all I needed to know. As like a theater kid myself, I was like, oh my God, one of them is the backstage person and the other person wants to be the star of the show and loses out the role to his ex. Like that's it. That's all I needed to know. So I will 100% read a young adult romance if it's about theater. That's all I needed. So My Fair Brady, that's my pick. Tori, over to you.
Awesome. I chose Most Ardently by Gabe Cole Novoa. I am so excited for this book. So it's also kind of in the young adult genre, but it's about a trans boy named Oliver who is growing up in 1812, so Regency, England. And so it is another reimagining of Pride and Prejudice. Jane Austen just getting tons of shout outs in this episode. But it's about a trans boy feeling trapped by the pressures of society. And obviously to his family and his friends, he's known as Elizabeth. And so we get the the pressures of like wearing a dress, entertaining suitors, all of these things. And he's like, I can't do this because this isn't my obviously true identity. And he meets Darcy. And so they have like a love story. And so we get to see Oliver's reckoning with his identity and finding love and the nurturing of a dream of living your true authentic self. So I'm very excited. The cover is like very, very beautiful and I'm just very, very excited.
That one's on my TBR.
That sounds so good.
So it came out January 12th. So I'm hoping to get to it sooner rather than later.
Mm-hmm. the never-ending TBR list.
Yeah.
I know. That's just got so stressful.
It is what it is. It's, try as you like, it's sad to say, but you will never be able to read them all. But I hate saying that, but it's true. There's just so many good ones. Oh,
I know.
That sounds great though. I'm excited. I'm going to add that as well to my list. Lena, rounding out the category.
Yes, so I'm excited. My pick is from Danny McLean, and they themselves are bi and non-binary, and have written 5 novellas. And so this is their debut, like, full novella, and it's called Mortgage of Convenience. And it,
Great title.
yes.
That's so 2024.
I love
Yeah, love that title.
It in the book, and I don't know because it just says by representation, so I'm not sure who is representing that, but it is a brother's best friend, and she is a ghostwriter. He is an ex-stripper, and they somehow come together. I think he has the house and she moves in to help him or something like that, but she wants to write a novel herself and needs help with she's like stage fright almost, she doesn't like the limelight and being out in the public and stuff like that. There's an age gap, and so it says steamy and domestic.
That's a combo. That is a combo for sure. No, another one after my own heart. Whenever there's like a house or an inn or a bed and breakfast involved, count me in. In fact, I've got one coming up in one of the last categories that will tap right into that. But no, that sounds great. Okay, well, the moment I've been waiting for. A romance by a new to you author, because I get to go first. That's why. This is, I think somebody actually said this earlier. This is a new to me author in that I haven't read them yet, but I think I've saved, posts I've seen about their previous books. And this is the one that's coming up soon in February 27th. Oh, it is February. What am I saying? February 27th, later this month. The book is called A Duet of Darkness and Dreams by L.H. Blake. And okay, this is what attracts me to this book. I am very intrigued by the idea of, and I don't know if I want to call it this, historical romance that takes place in the 80s. Because I've noticed people start publishing books that are taking place in the 80s and 90s.
And calling it historical.
And they're calling them historical romance.
That's so funny.
But like,
That makes me sad.
But they're right? What else do you call it, I guess?
It's not wrong, but it's also not right.
It's not right either.
Yeah, like I'm calling them nostalgic romance. Like that's in my mind how I'm thinking of them.
That.
But I do think it's kind of funny that we do have books that are coming out taking place in the 80s and 90s being marketed as historical. And this one is an off-limits friends to lovers romance, and it is set in the 80s, and it's all about rock stars, like hairband rock stars in the 80s. And I think the heroine is touring with the band as like a journalist or a reporter, photographer, something of that kind. But my friend Simone covered this book in a recent review, and like I said, I'm so into seeing romance books that are taking place in different eras that you got me. Like I love 80s music. I think 80s fashion. I don't know if I want to say I love it, but it's very entertaining to me. So I am excited to read this one.
Yeah, like I feel like you would give a lot of good visuals.
Right. And I read another late 80s, I think it was 80s into the 90s book last year, and really enjoyed that. I loved all the details about, what people were listening to and the snacks people were eating, and going to the record stores. It tapped into like so many nostalgic memories for me that, you know, I want to see more of it. So give me that millennial nostalgia.
Love it.
Yeah. All right, Tori, over to you.
This is hard because I have so many. Okay, this is an author that's obviously new to me, Sarah L. Larifi, who published Faybound in January 18th, 2024. And I haven't read any of their previous books, but I also think I'm in like a Fae moment.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm having a Fae era, and like I don't want to give SJM any more like airtime. So yeah, I'm really excited for you know, just some new fantasy for me.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm looking at this one, and it does say Faybound #1. So I'm going to take a wild guess and say this is the start of
a world,
a much larger story.
I feel like that's with most Fae and fantasy books. It's like you can't just wrap up because you do so much world building. It's like you can't just wrap it up in one book. So I'm in for the long haul. I'm okay with that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, and if you have to, you know, do some more reading in between the next iteration of this story, I will say that the author does have another trilogy, it looks like, that you could check out. So I don't know if it's Fae involved,
okay.
but it does say that that she's the author of the Ending Fire trilogy as well.
Nice. Love it.
Lena, over to you.
Okay, so this is an author that I'm going to mess up their name. I don't even know how I came across her. I'm somehow like in her Instagram channel and have been following for her a while, but have yet to read a book. Mia Heinzelman.
Heinzelman.
Mia Heinzelman.
And I know that because Mia and I have spoken before on the podcast.
Okay. So I follow her. So she has a new one coming out on February, just a couple days, the 6th. It is called The Accidental Crush and looks super cute. It is a family vineyard that is going under, and one of the sons is like trying to save it. And he has this Galentine's Day brunch where the female lead comes, and they somehow connect, and she helps him to, you know, save the winery, you know. So it's a strictly business arrangement, you know, of course, that they have going on. And yeah, it says he's a recovering player and she's a goal-setting workaholic. So just super cute. Who doesn't love a vineyard setting? The same with the that just reads Hallmark movie to me. So
yeah, I was gonna say, I guess I can add vineyard to like the inn, the house, the bed and breakfast.
The vineyard attached to it.
I love that.
Of course, they all go together. Well, and if anybody listening is thinking, "Oh, Mia Heinzelman, like that name sounds so familiar," it's because we just covered her book Clued in Christmas for the 12 Days of Boobsmas. So
nice.
Yeah, she has a very fun series that's already out that all of the titles of the books have to do with board games. And in the book, the characters like co-own a board game
like cafe.
I forget if it's a bar or a cafe or if it's just like a store full of games, but yeah, that's kind of like the thing that threads them together, and it's really cute.
Some people are so creative. Like
I know. Don't you just hate them?
Like that's so cool. Like
yeah, it's a good one. But I really enjoyed the Christmas book, so I'm looking at the cover for this upcoming one, and yeah, that looks cute.
Yeah,
love it. Okay, Sat, it's you.
Okay, so I'm a big paranormal romance reader. So this next one is a new to me author, obviously, Cherish Reed. If that name sounds familiar, she wrote Mickey Chambers Shakes It Up.
You're killing me by stealing all of my people. Like this, Cherish was going to be my bonus pick for the last one.
Oh.
But
I'll
you
conjure
go,
for you.
and then I will tell you how good her books are. So carry
perfect. So this one comes out March 19th. I'll conjure for you. I heard the title and then saw the cover and was like, sign me up. I do have an arc of this one that I'm so excited to get to. Essentially, this one, you have a witch who has ADHD. And a shy demisexual logger. There's accidental sex spells that bind them together, which is one of my favorite micro tropes. I honestly don't know what a micro trope is, but I feel like I'm using that word correctly.
So, you nailed it.
Yeah, that is
yes. So I'm like, I don't think that that's a thing. Like, I'm like one of the people that's like, micro trope. Like, is it just a mini trope? But it's a big part of the book.
Right, like it's in my mind, it's the because I feel like a lot of the times when we talk about tropes, we talk about like a much bigger, more umbrella kind of thing, and then the micro tropes are like the like who hurt you, or like we inherited a B&B, which by the way they do in the first book in Cherish's series.
That's so
funny. We are really just covering all the bait. We said we have a theme and we are sticking to it. Like, I love that.
We moved right beyond tentacles. We went straight into inheriting B&Bs and vineyards, and here we are.
So I'm very excited. I love like sex spells that bind the characters together. I think it's fantastic. I absolutely love that. It's one of my favorites. There's also a demon and there's an exorcism. Mm-hmm. Also, some of my favorites and paranormal romances, which my last one is also a paranormal romance. So I'm very excited for that one. And again, it comes out March 19th.
Yeah, and let me tell you, this was going to be my final pick for our bonus category. And the first book in this series, I'll Come Back for You, we did cover on Boobies and Newbies a couple of years ago when it came out. And Cherish is one of those authors that I recommend to everybody as being like vastly underrated in my book, because she's indie published, she's traditionally published, she writes characters that, in my opinion, are very real, very down to earth. Just people that have relationships that don't feel forced, and they're going through stuff that's like, again, just so natural. And then I read I'll Come Back for You and was like thinking, oh yeah, they're gonna do like a little bit of magic, when I tell you there's like some legit like scary ghost haunting kind of stuff that happens in that book. I
love that.
It's wild. So I'm very excited for this one because it's been a couple years in the making.
Oh, I'm so excited. You know what? Actually, I was looking on Cherish's Instagram post, and whose comment do I see? Yours.
Is it me?
Kelly.
So I was like, well,
I'm a fan.
I know. I was like, that's Kelly. And in my mind, I was like, oh, she's probably going to put this somewhere on her list. Let me go first.
That's so funny.
Second pick snatched out of my hands.
Thank you, universe.
Funny. These look really good, though.
Yeah, and honestly, Lena, the first one, I will say they are, I guess, novel length, but I think when I read the Kindle for the first book in the series, it said like 200 pages.
Oh yeah,
and like, to me, that's the novel length that I want to read.
Same.
236 pages. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, definitely doable. Funny, sexy, and also creepy. So I'm excited. I will say I definitely recommend reading the first book. I don't think you have to, but I do recommend reading the first book in the series before I'll Conjure for You comes out.
It might be
I'm so excited.
Too scary for me, but Mickey Chambers Shakes It Up looks so good.
Yeah. That one was cute. Yeah. That one was cute. I really like her series that's about, it takes place in Ireland, and there's a couple of books. One of them is called The Right Escape, WRITE Escape.
Oh, okay.
and I forget the other
Hearts
one,
on
but
Hold.
yes, but they're both interracial romances. They both take place in Ireland. I liked The Right Escape because I think she's writing a romance novel, and the guy is a professor, and so he starts reading romance novels, and then like she'll give him some of her book to read, and he'll give her notes, and it was just really cute.
I love that.
No ghosts in that one. No exorcisms. Like that's specifically for this series. Okay, well, since we have all had our chance to go first, second, third, and fourth, I figured for this last category I would just randomize it again. So Sat, you get to go first again, and I swear if you take another book from me, I'm going to be so pissed. So this is your freebie. You can pick any indie trad pub book that has not been mentioned before. The floor is yours.
Okay, there are two options that I have, but I'm going to go with the one that is not... People could have the second option, but this one is Saint Sorrow Sinner by Freddie Smoon. This is another one where if you are like into scary things, like you like horror, you like that sort of vibe, but you also like romance, Freddie Smoon. This is the third book in the series. Freddie Smoon, they also write like shorter novella length novels, so you could read the entire series in like a week or two. It's great. Freddie Smoon is Latina and trans, and this book is sapphic. You have a trans woman as a love interest, and you also have an autistic main character. Essentially, this book is full of like seances, religious trauma, magic and ritualism. It's horror. Like it is a horror romance. It's set in Los Angeles. You have Sophia, who is basically possessed, for lack of a better word, and she is taken to Juniper, who is she is like a conduit for the dead, so she can speak to the dead, and essentially is trying to exorcise this demon from Sophia, and they fall in love. And it is beautiful. It's one of those books where the romance is not explicit in, building a love connection, but it is through like tender moments, like cooking together, conversations, and that sort of type of like, it is truly like a romance book in the definition of thinking about romantic. And it is just so good. It's also an age gap. I love it. It comes out March 5th. Again, it is the third in the series, and you would need to read the first two in order to fully understand what is happening in this final one. But all of them are great. Again, they are not for the faint at heart, though. Like it is not for the faint of heart. Like there's animal sacrifices, there's exorcisms. Like it is truly horrific, in the best way. I'm a scaredy cat. So trust me when I say like, I can't read horror, the genre on its own, because I need to sleep at night.
Me too.
But the romance balance is what makes it doable for me. So I definitely recommend these books. But check your content warnings first, because they can be a bit heavy.
Yeah, I have read some of Freitas's shorter novellas, so I can attest to that. I think love via exorcism might be another one of your micro tropes. Right under with like sex spells.
Yeah. Contemporary, I don't know her, but if they're doing exorcisms, if there's a demon running around, if they fall in love with said demon, sign me up. I love horrific romance. I love when you're like, this is a romance book, and then they like start making out, and you're like, yep, this is definitely a romance book. Mid
There's
exorcism.
dark romance, and then there's whatever you're reading. And
Dark with a different meaning. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
so
dark
bad.
in a different way. This is truly dark. Yeah.
I'll stick to my mafia men and like
That's so
Yeah.
funny.
These are dark in the soul, like
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah, no, like
Being ripped
literal
out.
darkness. Yeah.
I love that. I don't. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. I do. That does sound. Now you've got me thinking. I'm like, damn. Are there just like a ton of exorcisms out here happening in romance books that I just don't know about?
Apparently, yeah.
You didn't know that exorcisms are like sexy and romantic?
Yeah.
You didn't know
I
that?
knew the spells.
You know-
I thought that I know the spells were. Like, brings me back to my Buffy days, but like exorcisms, like
It's a very
you know what?
romantic endeavor to exorcise a demon.
That's true. Like like literally, metaphorically. I do have a Linda Blair exorcist reference in my upcoming book, but that's different. Like there's not an actual exorcism happening. Yeah, something new that I'm gonna new to me, so I'm gonna have to check out more of that. Okay, Lena, you get second pick, so over to you.
Awesome. Okay. This one, I had a couple too, but I'm actually meeting the author next weekend. So I decided to go with this one. And it is closed door. I know, like, you know, we're all about the spicy, but she's a closed door author, Karina Taylor. So I have read a couple other ones, and she has a new one coming out. I don't know when. Oh, it came out already. I just haven't read it. It came out on January 10th. It's on my TBR. I know it's on my Kindle. It's called Play Me Once. It is a workplace romance, boss and employee, but it's small town. Second chance. I think they like went out on a date and he did her wrong type thing, you know.
I like that.
Yeah, broke her heart type, you know, deal. She starts working for him. He sounds kind of like the kind of alpha male, you know, he's a lot of banter, like in the blurb, you know, he's messing with her, asking her out on dates, but she's trying to keep her distance. And so then, and in the tropes, it's, which a micro trope, cats. It says cats. How many cats?
Cat lovers.
The musical? Or
I hope the animal. So
Yeah,
I know
fair.
a lot of people. I'm not a huge animal person, but I know a lot. You know, people love their animals and love the dogs and the cats and the, you know, in their stories. So, but
yeah, that's true. I'm guilty of that too. I love seeing, and I like the weird animals too. I love when they're like, "Oh yeah, this is my pet goat." I'm like, okay.
I read a novella, Christmas novella with a llama, Jude and the llama, like
Sure.
something. Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
so funny.
Why not?
yeah.
Why
So
not?
yeah, so I'm excited. She's, like I said, I've read a couple of hers, and I'm going to an author signing next weekend, and she'll be there, and so
It looks
Fun.
great.
Well, and this will be your perfect excuse to read this one before you go to the signing.
and there's 5 authors, and so I'm just finishing one up. And then yes, I'm debating to read one of hers, or I think that 2 of the 5 I have not read yet. And so if I can read this week is like rush reading for me. So I can, you know, to say I've at least read one book from each author that it's going to be there. Yeah.
I like doing that too. That's always my goal when I go to book events as well. Sometimes I can't. Like I'm going to a couple this year that have like 60 plus authors signing, and I'm like, ooh,
that's busy.
That might be a push.
Yeah.
I don't know about that one, but you know, we try. Well, Tori, bad luck for you because I'm next. And I had a few that I was choosing between as well, especially since I had to do some rearranging because of SAT. But I'm landing on one that and the reason I'm going with this one is I have been anticipating this book for the last like 2+ years, ever since the first book in the series came out. It's Zio Axelrod's upcoming book, Girls with Bad Reputations. Yeah. So if people haven't read The Girl with Stars in Her Eyes, first of all, I just have to take a breath to digest the fact that you haven't
I know,
read it.
I haven't.
I'm so sorry.
No, none of us have.
No.
Oh my gosh. Well, this sounds like a book club right here. Buddy read
seriously.
for sure. So I love Zio's books, but the first book, The Girl with Stars in Her Eyes, this is in her series called The Lilies, and it's about a group of badass female rock stars called the Lilies. Not only does Zio, write, oh God, I love her writing style so much, but she also writes music for the Lilies.
Damn.
Like the Lilies have their own Instagram page. The Lilies have their own merch. She is a musician in real life in addition to writing, and so she's created so much depth in this fictional world that we already got one Lily's member romance in the first book, and so this book has been 3 years in the making, and I'm very excited. I think there are like some darker themes in this, so definitely check your trigger warnings, but I think it boils down to friends to lovers, great elements of found family if it's anything like the first book. Like I said, we've got badass rockers, and I think there's also a road trip, which again, I am 100% trash for. So, yeah, I'm very excited about this one. And if you see the cover, oh my God, gorgeous.
Yeah.
Absolutely gorgeous.
And I love like book or TV or movie bands, but they're actually good.
Yeah. Yeah. And she's like actually made music for
That's so
this
cool.
band. Like
You can listen to.
You can listen to their
That's
music. Like
so
you can go
cool.
on Spotify and listen to the Lilies. So
People are so creative.
talented people just
Yeah.
make me so happy and then make me so jealous at the same time.
Same. That's unreal.
Yeah. That one is out February 6th. So by the time this episode comes out, it will probably be out. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then last pick of the day goes to Tori.
Yeah, I'm so excited because I thought this one was going to be stolen, but it's Red String Theory by Lauren Kung Jessen. And over the holidays, I watched Serendipity and I watched Dash and Lily, which are New York-based fate intervening movies, obviously. A TV show and a movie, and one's adapted from a book. So this is another fate rom-com set in New York, which I'm very excited about.
Why is fate only happening in New
No,
York?
I know. I was like, do I have to
what's-
move there? Like, I don't understand.
In the snow, too, because like both those other ones take place
Yes.
like at Christmas.
No, literally that. Okay, thank you. That was the other thing I was saying that they have in common. And again, I haven't read this book, so I'm unsure if it has any other similarities, but it also takes place in New York. This one's in February, but the other two are like around Christmas. So it like yeah, so it's just the mood. It's the lights of New York, but all the like fun holiday stuff. And our main character believes in the Chinese legend about the red string of fate that like connects you to your true love.
Got it.
And of course, the other main character in the story doesn't believe in that. So we have a skeptic and a believer of this, romance, fate, I guess soulmate kind of legend. So I'm really excited. I love like I don't love like sunshine grumpy, like unless it's done really, really well. But I do like skeptic and hopeless romantic tropes. So I'm very excited for this.
Yeah, that's a good. I'm glad that you separated like skeptic / romantic from grumpy sunshine, because I do think there can be crossover.
Totally.
But I've never really thought about that pairing before as being, a character trope. So I like that. The skeptic and the hopeless romantic.
Yeah, I'm excited. And yeah, it's already out. It came out January 9th. So yeah, time to
great.
buckle up and read it.
Wonderful. Well, there you go. Between the four of us, we have covered so many romances that, again, are all coming out between January 1st, March 31st this year. I hope everyone will check them out and add them to their TBR list. And of course, I'm going to be sharing all of our picks on the socials, and everybody listening, you can vote for which team. Whatever. It's not football. We know which team you like best. Again, no winners, no losers.
Win.
Yeah. It's all the glory. It's only glory that the winner gets. But we will be back later this year with our spring picks, our summer picks, and our fall picks. So this is just something to get you started with your 2024 reading. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me and sharing all your... I know I asked you to do homework, so I'm very appreciative.
Yeah. Thanks, Kelly.
I'm very appreciative of when people come prepared, and I think all four of us did that today, so go us.
Yay team.
Well, very briefly, and I will, of course, put this into the show notes as well, but please tell everyone listening at home where they can find and follow you for, all of the future book recs they're going to need. So I'm going to pass it over to Sat first.
Yeah, you can find me on TikTok and Instagram at SatRayReads. And I also have a newsletter. If you go to the bio of either of those pages, you can subscribe and you can find me there.
I've been meaning to subscribe to that. And I keep seeing you mention it and then I still don't do it. So I'm going to do that today so I don't forget. Thank you for that.
Of course.
Lena, how about you?
I am mainly on Instagram, but I do have a TikTok that I don't use often, but both are desert.diva.reads. And like I said, it's a lot of indie authors. I do author spotlights, kind of speed round questions that are really fun that I'll do throughout the year. I feature the 12 Days of Christmas novellas. It's 3 years this year, I think. And yeah, that's it. So please.
Awesome. And thank you again so much for, everything that you do for indie authors. That
Absolutely.
makes me very happy. And Tori.
Thank you, Kelly. My podcast, Ready to Be Romance, can be found on all podcast platforms. And you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok and Twitter at Ready to Be Romanced. And at our TBR podcast.
Yes. And if you're super into like celebrity trash, hot goss, you should check out Ready to Be Petty.
Yes.
It's pretty fun.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Kelly's been a guest on Ready to Be Petty. So if you like Kelly's content as well, come check out Ready to Be Petty.
Yeah. Tori fell in love with romance on my podcast. I learned who Olivia Rodrigo was on Tori's podcast.
Yes. I explained the Olivia Rodrigo, Sabrina Carpenter, Joshua Bassett drama to Kelly.
Yeah, these were all just names that I had never heard of, and now I'm a big fan of hers because I love her new album.
Me too.
It's incredible.
Yeah. That's our red thread. That that's we don't need that. We'll stick to the tentacles and inherited ins as the theme for this episode.
Love it.
Well, again, thank you so much, and everybody, be sure to check the links in today's show notes so that you can find and follow all of our panelists, and find books that you want to read. Stay tuned for our spring fantasy fiction draft. That'll be happening probably closer to March or April. But in the meantime, you can listen to Boobies and Newbies everywhere where you normally stream your podcasts. So that just about does it for us. And go 49ers. Thanks so much for listening. Tune in every Friday for a brand new episode of Boobies and Newbies. And don't forget, you can always catch up on previous episodes on your favorite podcast app or on boobiesandnewbies.com. Happy reading!